Two videos so soon together. Someone suggested I do this one because I haven't done this one for a while, so I've put the flag back up again. There's the other flag. And I'm going to do another video. This one is about change. It's about the cycle of change, and it's a model that I borrowed from somebody else, and so I'm going to have to do lots of little breaks because there's a fair bit of writing that I need to do. But like a lot of my models, it kind of starts with a circle. I can't reach the board from here. I should have put, never mind. But what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that this is one of those revolving doors that you get when you go into posh hotels and stuff. It's, you go in, it spins round. And this is a model that was devised by a couple of guys, Paczanska and Declementi. You can Google them if you want. They had 5 stages of change, I think. I can't really remember. But this particular model that I'm going to show you is my interpretation. It's been used loads and loads over the last 30 years, but I was the first person I know to put it in this context. I'm really proud of that. Right, so this is the model. And this is where we start. This is always the way. I almost run out of whiteboard there. But this is how the model starts. And Paczanska and Declementi coined this term, pre-contemplation. What that means is it's before you think about it. It's before the contemplation stage. And this is where all of us are before we realise that some form of change is necessary. So the next stage, and that's where we enter this model, is, as if by magic, contemplation. This is where we enter the model, okay? And this is why it's important. Here we don't realise that change is necessary. Here is where we do. Any form of change, you can apply this model to any form of change that you might recognise. As soon as you've gone from pre-contemplation to contemplation, where you recognise change is necessary, that looks a bit messy. Let's clean that up a little bit. Contemplation, and this is where you're in the model. Whatever that is, whether it's that you're going to stop smoking, you want to quit drugs, you're in an abusive relationship, you hate your boss, wherever you find change is necessary, you can apply this model. So from contemplation, we recognise that some degree of change is necessary. At some stage, we can then move into the next stage, and I won't bother pausing the video for this because it's quite easy to write. Action. So you stop smoking. You leave the abusive relationship. You tell your boss to screw himself and herself or whatever and shove their job, whatever it might be. Whatever that change is. And I usually apply this to people who might want to stop smoking, or people who might want to cause a significant change, perhaps in their relationships or whatever it is. If they're in an abusive relationship, you know, the action part is you stop smoking, you leave that person, whatever that happens to be. Now, pretty quickly, you move on to the next stage, and this is where I'm going to pause again. Maintenance. So we've gone from not even realising change is necessary to thinking that change is necessary, doing something about it, and then maintaining it. So we stay not smoking. We keep away from the person in the abusive relationship. Okay? So at the moment we've got a nice flow through. We've thought about it, we've done something about it, and we keep doing something about it. Now, the most important part of this model, and it's important to bear in mind that a lot of people can leave the model here forever. You don't have to go to that 4th stage. You can leave the model altogether However, for some people, they'll move into this. And this is, or as I call it, relapse. Lapse, relapse. The reason that is important is you start smoking again, you go back to the abusive partner, you think you've failed. You haven't. We recognise that you're still in the model. You haven't failed. You're still in the model. So the beauty of this model is it takes away failure. You can't fail. If you leave the model here, fine, brilliant. If you go here, it's not a failure. It's still a part of that model. So don't beat yourself up for being human. It's important to realise that we recognise that lapsing or relapsing is a part of that model, and you can almost immediately go straight back into contemplation. So you haven't lost. You can't lose with this model. This is a win-win model. Change is difficult. Causing change in a number of areas in our life is frightening, it's intimidating, it's excruciatingly difficult to even think about it. That's why we often stay in pre-contemplation. We don't realise that change is necessary because it's easier to think that no change is needed. But once we do, as soon as we realise that change is necessary, we're in this model. You're in this model. You're in Pachanska and De Clementi's model, as enacted by Dr. Martyn Bailey in 1980, whenever it was. I don't know, 5? Something like that, 6? I can't remember. Whenever it was, I did this for the first time. And I've used it probably 2 or 3 times a year ever since. And the reason I like it is because it means you can't fail. If you're in this model, you don't have to worry about this bit. It's a part of the model. You haven't failed. Ideally, you'll leave here. But we're all human. We're only human. So that's my little model of managing change. I hope that's been helpful.